Welcome to Running Down the Clock, where we break down all of this week's big news, events, and controversies from the National Football League. Over the next 45 minutes, we will give you basic fan perspective and opinion on the most important stories and moments happening now. So, let's start the clock. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Running Down the Clock. We have 1 week left. We just got through week 17 of the NFL schedule. A lot of things happened this weekend. One thing in particular. But before we get to that, Poya, you're coming to us from a place where there's jungle dolphins.
Yeah, I'm in Manaus, Brazil. Today
Manaus,
we went
Brazil.
Manaus. I don't know how they say it. I'm sure I say it wrong. But I went somewhere today where they have these pink river dolphins. There's even a Planet Earth about this, so I'm not even making it up. And I was that arrogant, pompous piece of shit that already knew a little bit about it when they're trying to talk about and educate you. And it's like, well, actually, Sir David Attenborough. But then the jungle floods, and these river dolphins become jungle dolphins.
Why now? Why does the jungle flood just from
Well,
long
just
periods
from
of rain?
the water levels rise up.
Yeah, but it's not.
So
That's
they're
not from
like,
tides. It's from rain, or is it from the tides?
I think it's from everything: the season, the tides, the sun, the moon, the stars in the sky, you name it. I don't know. We didn't get that far because there's still river dolphins today. But at
So
some
tomorrow you'll
point,
find out. Tomorrow you'll find out
they're
about the
showing me
tides.
the they're showing me the water levels. That hey, the water levels go up to there, and it's the top of the tree line.
Okay, that's kind of cool. How high up? Like 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet, a foot?
No, we're talking like 15, 20 feet.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's a like
like the
that's a
jungle
proper
flood.
flood. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch this David Attenborough thing on the pink dolphins,
Actually,
jungle
like
dolphins.
second to our podcast, I think Planet Earth is one of the most entertaining pieces of entertainment you could be watching.
Yeah, I mean, I just sometimes don't like when the animals I like get eaten by the animals I don't like.
So that's the whole thing of the narrative is the way they present it to you. Sometimes they present it to you like, oh, this guy's going to starve if he doesn't eat. Other
Yeah,
times they present it to you that like, no, this guy's going to get killed by this other animal.
I know, and
So,
they're not allowed to interfere. The photographers and the camera teams and stuff like that, and people they're not allowed to interfere with what's actually happening. It's one of their rules.
yeah, that's nature.
Cutthroat out there. It's cutthroat out there. But
It is very
our
cutthroat.
producers need to be very proud of you because you took your mic and entire podcast setup down there with you on the 35-hour trip. It probably was to get down there. So
Oh
they should
yeah.
all be giving you a raise for that.
And my father insisted on coming to pick me up at my house to take me to the airport. And in true dad fashion,
What
flight
time
is
was
at
your flight? Okay, yeah, 8 o'clock
8:20.
flight,
Flight's at 8:20.
a.m.
He was AM. He was at my house at 3:30 AM.
The oh man, the
25 minutes to the airport.
flight attendants probably weren't even there by like the
25
opening of
minutes.
the airport.
No, I was there just before 4. Nobody started work until 4:45.
There's nothing more frustrating than getting to an airport early and then having to wait at the gate because the like just to get through security is not even open yet.
I
You're
couldn't
just like,
check my bags yet. Yeah, I
yeah,
couldn't even check my bags.
that's
So,
hilarious. That's classic dad.
cl
So
classic dinner.
this was Saturday. That was the night of technically they're calling it Monday Night Football, but it was Saturday night. It was the
Yeah.
Lions Dallas game.
So
Were you able to
you
watch it?
seem to know nothing about air travel because you assured me there would be Wi-Fi. There was
I
no
mean, those
Wi-Fi
big
for that.
planes usually have Wi-Fi. You got to pay for it though.
They didn't have the option. The only plane of the three I took that had Wi-Fi was the smallest one on the last leg. They had free Wi-Fi.
Really?
Yeah, but the game was over by then.
So you didn't get to see any of the game?
I didn't get to see any of the game.
Did you see the highlights of the game?
I did watch the highlights of the game. I think there's only really one highlight at the end of the game that needs to be discussed. Period.
I mean, yes, it does need to be discussed because once again, the Detroit Lions go into Dallas and they get absolutely screwed by the referees. And there's no explanation for it as to why, other than, and I will fully believe this because we talk about conspiracies on this podcast, and I don't even think it's a conspiracy anymore. The NFL is rigged. They have
So I
rigged the
have
NFL, and this was a glaring evidence to it.
I have a conspiracy of the week for this.
It's not the same one though, isn't it? Like
Should
it's just that
well,
it's
it expands
rigged.
on this. It expands on this specific.
Okay.
So I think the Lions are basically for the week or the year, the NFL's whipping boy. The NFL chose the outcome of that game, but to show that, hey, it's not rigged, it's mistakes happen, they're punishing those refs by not allowing that refing team to ref in the playoffs. So that's their kind of make well to fix the situation to show that, oh no, 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 this was a complete accident, and you know what? We're reprimanding those referees. So the Lions get screwed, air quotes, the refs get screwed, but the NFL gets what they wanted. And the worst part about this is, in other sports they say ball don't lie. I feel like in the NFL, the team that gets fucked just ends up getting fucked, like the
Yeah.
Saints with the pass interference call. Like there's never any justice for that team when you get screwed by the NFL.
No, and they for that Saints one specifically, that was the defensive pass interference that they then next year said, okay, we're now going to allow challenges and reviews, like throw the red flag for defensive pass interference if you want. They did it for a year and then they got rid of it, and they're just like, this is just slowing the game down and not doing anything.
Yeah.
But that was
Or
kind of their
bad
like, we
catches,
fixed it.
Des
Yeah.
Bryant,
Well, that was
or Megatron. Like the controversial catches. Like when they get it wrong, then there's never that ball don't line moment where they get
like free throws will tell you,
uh
or the like all that stuff will tell you
yeah. It
naturally
seems in
back in
other
the game.
sports. Yeah,
But here's the thing is they clearly the NFL wanted Dallas to have a chance at that first round bye. They didn't want Detroit to have a chance at that first round bye because they don't want a team like San Francisco or Dallas or Philly to have a higher likely chance of playing another one of those teams early or losing in the first round. They want those teams to carry forward. So the last thing that they want is the Detroit Lions to get first place, get a first round bye, and then go and have have the whole NFL NFC playoffs go through Detroit. That is not what they wanted. I don't know why. I don't maybe because Detroit's not the biggest market in the NFL. Obviously Dallas is bigger. Obviously San Francisco is bigger. Philadelphia is bigger. But and those are the teams that would get the first that are all able to get the first round bye still. It's just it was so
I don't
glaringly
know if Philly can
obvious.
Philly get it. I don't think Philly can get it.
If yeah, because they're all tied at 11-5. I think actually
No, but
San Fran just
after
clinched
this
it.
week,
Yeah, after this
yeah,
past
after
week,
this
San Fran
week,
just clinched it, which we'll talk about later today. But that was like a very evident moment. So as a Lions fan watching this game, I thought we lost this game with 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left. We got the ball back. We gave it like we just went. I think we went three and out. We were down seven. I was like, I don't think we have it in us. We came up with a three and out stop on Dallas. Got the ball back. Jared Goff went down the field and scored. Now this was exciting, but at the same time, the announcers knew. I think Troy Aikman called it at the 2 minute mark. He's like, if the Lions score, I bet you they go for two. And you knew they were going to go for two, and they did, and they got it. And the way they got it was a whole played out situation. Dan Campbell went to the referees at the beginning of the game, drew out the play, and said, "This is the play that we're going to run at some point in this game." And then all they needed was Taylor Decker, number 68, to go report to the referee. Say all he has to say. All he has to do is say the word report. Doesn't have to do anything else. He just has to walk up and say report. It is then on the referee to look at the number on his jersey, shoulders, front, and back. It's all over him, and say 68 is reporting as eligible. But because what the Lions were doing all game was Dan Skipper, number 70, was reporting consistently, and they were going to throw it off by saying 68 on this last play, he just assumed that it was 70 that was calling or saying that he wanted to report. There's video evidence that they showed right after they called this flag. It also, the Lions scored. Decker caught the pass, and I went nuts. I was like, "This is awesome! This is so good!" Like now, it's perfectly set up for Stafford to beat San Francisco this upcoming weekend, and we will get the first round bye, and then Stafford will be a hometown hero once again. But 45 seconds goes by, enough time for me to run up and down the hallway 15 times, and then a flag comes out. And then they say person was ineligible. And then right away, the announcers and the production team at Fox shows number 68 walking over to the referee and walking back. It shows Jared Goff pointing at 68 Decker to say, "Hey, make sure you go check in." He goes in, he reports eligible. the whole video evidence was there. Like I just, it's mind-boggling that they got away with it, and the only people that are punished are the referees, and it's kind of just a slap on that back. Like they've been bad. That group has been bad all year. And there's evidence going through social media now that they've made a lot of wrong calls, and it's just to me, it just says, okay, the NFL is rigged. Something's wrong. There needs to be an investigation at some level because the Lions just got fucked from the probably the greatest season I've been alive for. And it just, it was, it was laughable. I wasn't even mad. I was like, wow, we won. Jared Goff said it best. He said, it's just weird to leave knowing that you won, but you didn't. And that's the way it felt for all Lions fans. Like I wasn't mad. I was just it's just another chip. And Dan Campbell came out the next day and he said, I posted it on my Instagram. I was like, listen, we're upset, but we're not gonna beat ourselves up over it. We probably could have made a few more plays. And we'll just come back and we're gonna use this as fuel. We're full of octane right now. And so all you've done is now re-energized that team. All you've done is take all that stuff that they worked for last year as underdogs, and you've just thrown them back into it with that same mentality. And I think that's only going to help us in the playoffs. I think that's only going to make us
I
want
think
it
the
that much
worst,
more.
I think moving forward, the shitty thing for Detroit is that playoffs didn't start this weekend.
Yeah, because it would
That
have
they
been
have one, if they
yeah.
have one, because they got one more week, which potentially could be a meaningless game for them, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, this game technically, if that like it, we can't finish worse than third. So I don't even know how many reps Jared Goff and St. Brown and Hutchinson, and the running backs that we have are gonna get because I
Do you know?
don't want to
Do you
risk
know off the top of
injury.
your head what needs to happen for them to finish second?
If they finish second, then we're going to need, off the top of my head, I think we need Dallas to lose, which is, yeah, Dallas to lose and Philly to lose, and then we will be second place. And I
And then
think we have the tiebreaker over Philly. So I think it's just Dallas that needs to lose. That's, I think, is
right.
all that we need to happen. But I mean, we're obviously going to go out there and try to win that game because we do like
Well,
want that.
unless they're gonna rest some guys.
Well, I think that they should. I mean, my whole thing is I don't want guys to get injured in a meaningless game. Who does Dallas play this weekend? Dallas is playing so the Eagles are playing the Giants. Like you got to assume that's a win, and Dallas is playing the Commanders, so you have to assume
Washington,
that's a
yeah.
win as well. So I think the third seed is all but locked up. We're not going to go up. We're not going to go down, and maybe it is just one of those. Play the first half, maybe do a little scoreboard watching, see what's going on with Dallas, see what's going on with Philly, and then maybe like all right, Goff, St. Brown, Montgomery, Gibbs, you guys are just going to take a seat for the rest of this game. Um, and we'll be happy with third because that's at least one playoff game at home. But it could have went through Detroit. This whole postseason could have went through Detroit, and it's just sad that this is the way it has to happen for Detroit fans once again through no fault of our own. We did everything perfectly, and we still get punished. We still kind of like have to have this storyline that's not just about how good our football team is. It's about everything else that's surrounding us with one reason or another that it's just not getting done. And that's the part that's frustrating. But as far as I was concerned that day, I won. Like the Lions won that game, and you'll never convince me otherwise.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope, just for the sake of peace of mind, that in the end it didn't actually affect the Stanleys as much as it could have. But
Yeah. Well, especially
um,
I'll only feel better if San Francisco if the Rams beat San Francisco, I'm gonna feel a little more angry about it because that means we would have got the first seed.
yeah,
But I don't I have a feeling that San Francisco is probably gonna win that game now.
yeah.
But
But
it was just it was such a
you
good
did
storyline.
mention that Philadelphia's playing the Giants, which I think they will beat. But did I not call that? I told you they're going to slip up on one of those games. And I said it's going to be the Cardinals, man. That
Yeah,
team is falling a fucking apart.
I don't know what's wrong with them. Like AJ Brown was, and the only reason I know a little bit about the specifically watching AJ Brown is because he's on my fantasy team, which I did win. Did you win your league?
No, everybody on my team played mediocre, not awful, but mediocre. And the guy I was playing against in the finals, everybody on his team played amazing. I think he
Um,
had a season high in points.
Well, one of the two of us won, which is not bad. And both of us in the finals. That's why we have this podcast. But AJ Brown was frustrated and he wasn't getting the ball. And it seems like over the last, I want to say 5, 6 weeks, they've stopped going to him. And he's the best player on their team offensively. If you want to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands. And I just don't understand why they are not doing it anymore. And he's just actively frustrated. Like, you can see it in his like on the field, in dressing room after, during his interviews. Just you can hear the frustration. You can see his face frustrated. It's weird to have such a good first half of the season and then go away from what was making you good. He was out like there was like eight
Ah,
straight games where he had 125 games a yard,
I
125 yards
feel
a game.
yeah, I feel like the losses are now just in their heads
Yeah.
and they're deviating from what they used to do. Like sometimes you just lose a game or two, you stick with what's worked all season,
Or
and
you
you
go
get
back
back to
to
it.
it,
You get
right?
back on
Yeah.
track.
Yeah,
And
you go back to it.
I feel like it's just in their heads now.
Like there's got to
Like
be a
what the
moment.
fuck happened?
I don't
What
know.
happened? I just saw the highlights, but what happened in that Cardinals game?
Kyler Murray just kept coming back. He just kept coming back and kept throwing and kept running. He's a weird looking guy when he runs. He's got very short strides, but he's quick. He's
The
quick. He's
the
quick and
best the best example is he's a toddler who got the remote and now the parents are chasing him in the living room. He doesn't want to give it back.
that's exactly what that's
It's the
exactly
most
what he looks
apt
like.
description of him running.
It's exactly what he's looking like. And then
A
Philly's
million little
offense,
steps.
the the only thing Philly's offense is really good at right now is just that tush push. And other than that, they can't really they're not spreading the ball out. Swift is looking good, but they're not using him a lot. Like they're kind of just all over the place. They don't know who they are, which is very bad going into the last week of the NFL regular season. Like you should know who you are. You should be doing exactly what is the best part of your team and your game plan. You shouldn't be going the opposite way where you're still trying to figure it out and see what's broken.
Yeah.
It's not good for them going into the playoffs. I
Can
would
I bring
love,
up another team?
yeah, go for it.
Who is Miami?
Well, Miami's the same team on the AFC, right? Like they're the AFC version of they're the equivalent of the Eagles. Like they're falling just as fast as the Eagles are, and they should be just as worried.
Yeah,
Who
I
did they
think they've just been frauds all season. Like they're exciting when they win. It's decisive. It looks good, but there's such a gap between them and a challenging team. They can't play a good team that's actually going to give them a difficult match, and they're going to, fight and grind through and win. They're going to win these games like that are air it out to Tyreek Hill. Fucking, he's gonna pull up massive numbers. Mostert's gonna score 3, 4 touchdowns, right? Like when
Yeah.
guys are having these huge games, just running through defenses, they're doing great. But if they have to get into the trenches and grind out a win, I don't see them doing that. They haven't seemed to do that at all.
No, not
They
not at
can't.
all.
They can't go against the blue collar team,
Well, that's the thing. So they are essentially,
like a good team, not a
yeah,
shit blue collar.
their offense is like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, like one of those $300,000 cars that sits very low to the ground. But
Hmm.
the
It needs a
NFL
perfect
is,
track. It needs a
yeah,
perfect
it
track.
has to have the perfect track. It has to have the perfect conditions to
Yeah.
be to operate at 100% efficiency. That's not the NFL though. The NFL is
No, you
get in
need
your
a rally
truck with all
sport.
your buddies and yeah, you're driving over bumps. You're going over like pavements and potholes. Like that's what the NFL is. It's not like having a fast car, but you got to be tough. You got to be able to run the ball between the tackles as well as you throw it up. Like the Lions offense was great for
The
years
best
because they could
example
throw it.
is rally sport. You got the guy there, listen to the calls and make the plays,
Yeah.
right? You listen to the navigator, make the turns, and flying out there, hitting the air. They're jumping over things. They're going off the track. They're spinning out.
Yeah.
It's
Like it's the Mike Tyson quote. It's everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And Dolphins always seem like they've got this great offensive plan, and then they get hit hard, and it's like, oh, well, what do we do now? We're down 10. We didn't plan for this. We thought we'd be up 15. Like it's just and I'm not saying it's coaching. It's just there's something missing on that team. I think it's just that hard-nosed football. Like just sometimes you need a truck. You can't just always be in a nice car,
yeah,
especially over a
because they
long
got
season like this.
Buffalo this week, right?
Yeah, so that game is
They
huge.
got
That
Buff.
that game is huge. It's the
It's crazy that Buffalo can lose and miss out in the playoffs.
Buffalo is either going to get the second seed in the AFC if they win, or they're going to not be in the playoffs with some help. Like that's insane.
No, there is a way. There is a way that they can be a wild card. They can be a wild card, can they not?
Yeah, if they lose to Miami, then they need Pittsburgh and Jacksonville to
No.
lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like if they win,
Yeah.
they're
They
in.
can
That's
still
if they
be
win, they're in, and that's done. If they
yeah.
lose to Miami, like I think they only can be no. If Miami wins, they clinch the division. But if Buffalo, like they're gonna get second place if they beat Miami, and then they're going, they're gonna like they might be out. If Pittsburgh wins and Jacksonville wins, then Buffalo's out of the playoffs,
Yeah.
which is wild because right now they're the hottest team. Like that's the team in the AFC I would not want to play against other than Baltimore. And Baltimore's gonna have the first round
No, I
bye.
think yeah, those are the two strongest teams for
And
sure.
and speaking about that game, because they got like just absolutely like destroyed by Baltimore. It was 56-19 or something like that. And it just clinched Lamar Jackson's MVP, right? That game.
I think so.
Because they
I
don't
think so.
need he doesn't
Some
need to play this week.
I don't know who I don't know who's in the running this week that could have a monster game to eclipse him.
Nobody.
Is there an option out there?
There's no game that's as important where an MVP candidate could win it. Like because Josh
Like
Allen's probably not.
who's the next MVP candidate even? Is it McCaffrey?
It'd be
Like who's
McCaffrey,
the next up?
but the 49ers like game against the Rams means nothing. So McCaffrey's not going to play much. Like it is Lamar Jackson's
Well, it
trophy.
doesn't mean nothing because it's like I guess the 49ers can potentially throw it, but it means a lot to the Rams. The Rams could still slip out, can they not?
The Rams are they've clinched. The
They've
Rams
clinched.
have
Okay,
clinched the
never mind.
playoff berth.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just depends on if they want to be like sixth or the seventh seed or something like that. But yeah, the Rams
right.
have clinched as well. Um, so it's just one of those things. Like I think Lamar Jackson's. I think that game did it for him. Just put him over the edge
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
because it's not going to go like
Speaking of the
Tyreek Hill's
quarterback,
not going to win it anymore. That talk is really quieted since like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Because he's not even
yeah,
gonna.
he missed some games and he kind of had a little
Yeah,
bit of a cold streak now,
he's
and
not gonna break the
it's
record. He's
no.
not gonna break the record of Calvin Johnson's, which thank goodness, knock on wood, he's gonna need like 300 yards to do that. Um, he could probably still win Offensive Player of the Year award, but I think Lamar Jackson's clinched the MVP. I would be shocked if it didn't go to him, and he deserves it too. That's the other thing. Like,
Yep.
there's no reason for him not to do it. But there's a quarterback that's fallen off of his pedestal and onto the bench, which we talked about last week. I think it was the title of our episode. Russell Wilson, still the drama still continues. You know more about this than I think I do.
Well, everything is coming out now that weeks ago the team was trying to strong arm him into changing his contract, threatening to bench him.
Right?
Which, sure, I get it. Things aren't working out in Denver. There, they needed a change. They need something to happen for the team to win. But I don't know if strong arming your quarterback is always the best situation, only for the fact of ultimatum, and then it comes out, and they bumbled this whole situation with him because now it's all in the media, and other players aren't going to want to come here, seeing how they treat their players. When you see a toxic environment to players, sure, Russell Wilson might not be playing well, but other players are going to look at this and say, like, well, what does this have to do with anything? Like, this guy signed a contract, honor his contract. Oh, now you're trying to strong arm him into not playing, or you're trying to get him to threatening to bench him to do this. Well, other players are going to look at that as like, well, you don't have any faith in your players. You don't want to develop and grow your players. You don't want to like be on the same team as your players. You're against your players. Okay, well, maybe I want a little premium to go to Denver because
Yeah.
you're treating your players like shit. When it's known that you have a toxic environment for your players and you're treating them like shit,
Yeah.
people aren't going to want to go there. You're not
Is
going to recruit the top talent.
is there a recovery from that? So I guess what they did was after their bye week or after some loss, like midway through the season, they said to Russell about that injury clause in your contract, which is if he gets hurt before the end of the season, then his next 2 years are guaranteed. So they asked him, they said, "Hey, we're going to bench you if you don't change that clause in your contract." And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to do that." But doesn't there isn't there like a players union that can now say like, "Hey, that's you can't do that."
Well, I mean, can you not bench a player? They're your
That's
players. You
that's
can
the tricky
bench
part
any
is
any player.
you can
You can
bench
bench any
anybody you
player you
want.
want, right?
Yeah. You can bench anyone you want. You can cut anybody you want as long as you just give them the money or whatever's in the contract.
Yeah.
But just like the threatening part of it is you either just do it or you don't do it,
Well, that's
right?
what I
You
mean.
don't,
That's why I think it looks bad. That's why I think it looks bad to other players coming here. Is like you're strong arming them, right?
yeah. Like it'd be smarter
You're
to just be like, hey,
bullying your
we're,
players into doing whatever you want, right?
yeah,
It's almost like you've signed in bad faith. You knew what you were getting when you signed this contract. Now you're threatening him because if the guy doesn't play, imagine if Russell Wilson was benched for the majority of the season, it'd be even less likely he could land a better another team if he gets cut, which he'll
yeah.
probably will get cut now, right?
It seems like he's going to get cut sometime in
Yeah.
March,
And
March or June, something like that.
just seeing everything from Sean Payne, it doesn't seem like he has any interest of playing on the
Look,
same team as
yeah, when you look back at like this whole year and those
everything.
two's interaction, it kind of knowing what we know now, you look at it and you're just like, oh wow, yeah, he does not like Russell Wilson at all.
No, no.
Um, and you're right, like it's team like players are gonna be like, well, why would I go? Why would I put that contract or that clause in my contract when I know you guys aren't going to honor it or you're going to use it against me later? They should have just benched him and said, we're going with a different direction. We don't like him as our quarterback anymore.
Yeah.
That's easier, especially if you know you don't want him.
Because people will see that and be like, yeah, he was playing like shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Like,
fine.
yeah. The
But
the
this
problem
way,
was
people
that
are gonna
they went on like a 6 game win streak, and they decided to bench him when they were like a game behind playoffs, and it was like it's probably unlikely we make the playoffs. They're still
do you
not completely out of it, but
know what needs to happen this week for them to make it?
so Denver this week they are playing. Let me see what I got here. I have it all written down. I forgot the teams that they're actually playing. Denver Broncos are playing the Raiders in Las Vegas. Right now, Vegas is favored to win by 2.5. But what Denver needs to happen is I don't think they can make the playoffs based off what I have. So forget everything I just said. Denver is mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Yeah, so they're
Okay.
out. But they weren't out when they benched him.
No.
They still had a shot when they benched him, and this whole thing came out. It's a weird way to go about doing things in Denver. And the only way I think you can salvage that relationship between your players and the trust factor with your contract is if you have help in your dressing room from other players being like, no, 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 like we all knew this was going to be a thing. We were just everyone
So
was trying to get rid of him.
I
Everyone
saw
wanted him out of
some
it.
I saw some new rumors that the team in the dressing room also wasn't supporting him. Like they were all for benching him.
Yeah. So
And
that's
I
what
don't
I
know how
saw as well.
substantiated this. Yeah, I don't know how substantiated all this is. It could be just the latest rumor in the rumor mill, but
But are we
yeah,
surprised by
like
this? Like
it.
it seems like his teammates everywhere he goes doesn't like him. I know he's only been in two spots,
Yeah,
but they didn't like him in Seattle after he left. Everyone kind of said that. And now his teammates on this team are saying it. So it's that's the only saving grace I think that Denver could have with their player management style is that if other players are like, no, we're glad it happened.
you know
We
what this
won't
shows
do it.
us? If you throw a game-losing interception when you easily could have run the ball in the Super Bowl and you cost your team a Super Bowl, there is no recovery.
It's
He has
no,
never recovered from that.
no, and he
Career
shouldn't
has
have. That's
been,
terrible. That was a terrible mistake on all parts, except for Marshawn Lynch's being like, what? He's the only one that was kind of like, I don't know, the everyone
yeah, I'll
else was
never let
dumb on
that
that
one.
field on that
I'll
play.
never let that one down.
No,
I'll never
no.
let it die.
Okay,
Anyway,
we'll get into the clinching playoff stuff in 1 second because there's a player that I don't want to talk about, but you have a note here, so you want to talk about it. I never want to talk about this guy.
well, I just think it's a little bit scary for you. And this was
That's
something you were concerned about for this year. And I don't
yeah,
think this is the year to be concerned. I think next year maybe we'll start to be concerned. But Jordan Love,
yeah.
he is looking pretty good. I gotta say. Did you see any of the highlights?
I no, I try not to watch Packers highlights because I don't want to know what's coming. But they are 8-8 right now, and he is looking like the guy that they thought that he was going to be. That's the scary part, and I said at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I feel like he is going to have one of these very fundamentally sound progressions in the NFL to be a very good and threatening QB.
Yeah,
And for some reason, the Packers are one of those teams that do well with no name receivers. They seem to do quite well with nobodies.
yeah. They are very good at creating talent instead of needing a big name. They've
Yeah.
turned wide receivers into big names like Devontae Adams, obviously, but the guys before that, Antonio Freeman, Bill Schroeder, Randall Cobb, they're not huge, flashy guys that could go to any team and be good. I think Devontae Adams is the only one that's able to do that. Scandez Velding, whatever his name is, he plays for Kansas City now, and he's not
Marquez,
doing
yeah.
well at all. So they're a team that always just it's a something in Green Bay. Always have a good team, and that's terrifying as a Lions fan. And Jordan Love, I thought, was the one thing that could change that, and it would just all go to shit, and they'd need like 3 or 4 years of rebuilding, which is what I was hoping for. Doesn't seem like that's the case, though. It seems like he's going to make that a lot quicker of a process than everyone kind of thought it was going to be. And if they beat the Chicago Bears this weekend, I believe that they have an option, a chance of getting the playoffs here. Green Bay Packers will clinch a playoffs with a win. And even if they lose against the Bears, which the Bears have every um I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but they want to win this game. There's no reason
Oh,
for the
they got the
Bears
spite. They got
to
the
throw
spite. They
exactly.
don't
This is a
want they
rivalry
want to
game.
play spoiler. The same
Exactly.
same thing as Detroit did last year is
Exactly.
knock them out of the playoffs. So we can't make it, but we can make you not make it.
Yeah, every reason was what I'm gonna say. They have every reason to want to play and win this game, to do exactly what the Lions did to the Packers last year. Um, and that's it's so
Bears.
Packers beat the Bears, they're in. If they lose, then they can still get in, but they need Minnesota to lose, Seattle to
Need
lose,
Seattle to
and
lose,
either
right?
Tampa Bay or New Orleans to lose. So there's a
Yeah.
way for them to get in, but if they
Well,
win,
the
they're in.
Bears.
If they win, they're in. And the Bears are playing great right now. Justin Fields seems like he's kind of turned it around this year. The
Yeah, this was the
fans, did you
same
see the
story last year.
fans?
This was the same
I know,
story last year.
I know, but
It
that's the
happened at the
problem
end of
with
the
like,
season. He looks like the guy. They got the number one pick.
yeah.
Do they draft a QB or do they keep Fields?
Well,
They're in the fucking Groundhog's Day time warp.
all the fans are were chanting that they want Justin Fields back next year. If that means anything, I don't see a reason to
Yeah,
move
keep your
on from
fan base
Justin Fields
happy.
yet. I don't understand why you'd want to move on from him yet. I don't think Caleb Williams is the guy that's going to be the answer. So I
No, I don't think so either.
no, I would stick with Fields. I'd draft Marvin Harrison, give him another
But
weapon.
if you have good scouts, I bet you there is another QB in the draft that's
Yeah,
going to be the guy.
Jaden Daniels. He
There
is
you
going
go.
to be the guy that comes out of the next year's draft at quarterback position and be the next Lamar Jackson.
Well,
He's
that's a good pick.
that yeah. So that whoever gets him is going to be very
Potential
happy.
two-time MVP.
He just won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, that's a pretty good trophy.
Yeah, I'd say so. There, but he's
There's
not
only
predicted to go first.
everybody wants to win that except for one guy I can remember didn't want to win it. Everybody else
Who didn't want to win it?
was your guy Barry Sanders.
He didn't want to win it.
That's what his documentary said. Because
Is
he
it
didn't
what?
want all the fame that went with it. He'd
Well,
rather just
he
not
didn't even
win.
go to the thing. He was in Japan when he won it. He didn't go to
Yeah.
the ceremony. Um, okay, so let's get on to some of these games this weekend that are important and ones that aren't important, and we'll just go by breaking down the who's clinched already and all this stuff. Starting the AFC, Baltimore's wrapped up the first seed. It's theirs.
It's not like
Um,
last week's Hall of Fame thing where I got to pick, do I think they make it? Do I think they don't?
no, we're just going to talk
You
about.
butchered that. You butchered that one.
I butchered it.
You butchered it. It's a poorly
It's because you
designed
didn't
game.
participate. It's because
I,
you didn't participate. My
I,
execution was flawless. You just chose not to be involved.
we got to run it
Saturday.
back.
Okay.
We got to run it back.
Baltimore Ravens clinched the first seed. Kansas City's clinched their division. So they're in the playoffs. We got the Cleveland Browns have clinched a playoff berth. Miami Dolphins have clinched a playoff berth, not their division though. Miami versus Buffalo this weekend. Let's just talk about it now because it is probably the game of the week. Do you have that as your game of the week right now? Yes, you do. It's one of two.
I do. One of two.
One of two.
Because that
Um,
one, it doesn't mean as much. Because do you think Baltimore's resting some players?
Baltimore's resting probably everybody. Why not start Huntley? I think so. Yeah, yeah. Huntley.
So
Huntley will start.
I wish I had the stats for this, but 2 weeks off, that can sometimes kill your entire flow.
Yeah.
Because if they rest so many starters, they're off for this week. Then they got the bye. And
Yep.
I know you don't turn down the bye. You can't turn down the bye, but I feel like sometimes it messes up the whole flow.
I agree. But I
Because that's
do
gonna be
think
two
that
weeks off for a lot of their players.
yeah. But I think those guys kind of need it.
I'm sure
It's
they
a
do.
tough team. Um, I'm assuming they'll do some type of practice in the second week where they're simulating a game against another team, just to get like the whole 60 minutes out. Um, but you have to take the bye, right? Like,
You have to take it. You
yeah,
can't not take it.
have to take it. And you just
Yeah.
need Lamar Jackson to stay healthy, and you have a very good chance at winning the Super Bowl this year.
I think the Steelers have a good chance to win this one.
So I picked I my one of my picks this week is the Ravens. I think the Ravens, the Steelers are favorites at 3.5 points. Um, it's in Baltimore, but they have a Pro Bowl backup quarterback. Like their backup quarterback went to the Pro Bowl last year. I know 14 people decided not to go, but still, Tyler Huntley can play, and he's going to want to win this game.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
a
he's.
rivalry game. So
It depends on
and
how
you
many
can
players are they going to be resting. Who else are they going to be resting?
they should be resting Zay Flowers probably played just the first half. A lot of the defensive players probably just the first half.
Yeah.
But there's not like any other guy other than Lamar Jackson where it's like they've already replaced their running back. They've already replaced their tight end. Like they're two huge positions. They've already had to go to other people. So it's not like they don't know how to do it. But I just don't think everyone's going to play the whole game. I don't think Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson will play any of the game. And I just think the
Is
starters will
Pittsburgh
play the first
mathematically
half.
eliminated from the playoffs?
No. So
There you
so
go.
exactly. So they can go in there. Pittsburgh Steelers will clinch a playoff spot with a win against Baltimore, but they need Buffalo to lose. Or they win against Baltimore and Jacksonville loses. So either Buffalo or Jacksonville loses and Pittsburgh wins, they're in the playoffs. Now,
Jacksonville's got Carolina, don't they?
Jacksonville has the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. But they haven't looked
Do
good
they?
either, Jacksonville.
No, no, no. I think the Jacksonville has the Panthers. Do they
No, they don't.
not? Am I
No,
wrong?
they're playing Tennessee. Looking at it right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at last week's game. I'm looking at last week's game. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like Pittsburgh still has every reason to play and fight for this game, and I think the Ravens get a little extra kick, just like the Bears could, by getting rid of the Packers. The Ravens can send the Steelers packing by beating them this weekend. Tyler Huntley is going to get it done.
Yeah, but so I'm looking at all these kind of the interweb of all these teams. The Titans, they're the other divisional rival that they can play spoiler for the Jags.
Yes.
And the Jags can miss out completely here with because the Colts and Texans are playing each other.
So yeah. So Colts and Texans. Sorry, yeah, that's right. Colts and Texans play each other, and that is a huge.
That can
That's a
be for
huge.
the
That's your
division.
other. Yeah, that's your other
Yeah, I got that in the other
game of the
game
week.
of the week
That's
here because
Saturday at 5 o'clock. So if the Texans win, then they clinch the playoffs. Now, if the Colts win, they
flat
clinch the
out.
playoffs. Yeah, they flat out clinch the playoffs. And whoever wins that game, Texans Colts, makes the playoffs. So that's a huge game. Now, Jacksonville can still get in if they lose, if Pittsburgh loses and Houston or Indy doesn't end in a tie. If that makes sense. So as long as Houston or Indy wins, one of them wins, and Pittsburgh loses, Jacksonville's still able to get in.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, but that game, Houston versus Indies, that's your other game of the week. That's huge. That's your
Oh yeah.
win in your end game. I think
See,
last
I
year
kind
it
of
was
put that
the
one ahead. I even put that one ahead just for the fact that
I think it probably deserves to go
I
ahead.
think Buffalo outmatches Miami. I think Miami has quite a fight against them. Buffalo's on a roll. Buffalo's looking like the better team.
Well, here's the thing: is you're 100% right about that.
I think Miami is the underdog in this, and
They are.
after getting spanked last week, I'm sure there's more doubt in their heads than there is in
Oh yeah.
Buffalo.
And Buffalo has everything in the world to play for. Their lives are on the line. Miami's in the playoffs either way. But Miami's going to want to knock Buffalo out. But I just don't think they're going to be able to do it, not with the way Buffalo's playing now. But this is a good weekend because it's Saturday night. 5 o'clock is the um is that game, the Texans Colts game. And then Sunday night at 5 o'clock is the Dolphins Bills game. So it's a great weekend coming up for those 5 o'clock games. It's just excitement all night.
Should
Um,
we, since we're on the games of the week, should we do the bad game of the week?
yeah, let's do the bad game of the week.
I'm
It's a terrible
bored
game.
looking
It's the
at it.
worst game of the season.
Well, it's one of the few games that neither team is actually fighting for anything. And it's the Pats and the Jets. There's no storyline. There's nothing to play for. They both have had failed seasons.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
what is a team trying to salvage out of this one? Is a
it's not,
coach trying to keep their job? I don't think a coach is trying to keep their job because I think Robert Saleh is going to keep his job
yeah, and
because the whole storyline
Belichick,
of his season was
100%.
he didn't get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That was the entire storyline for the Jets and the Pats. I think Belichick he has a little bit of deciding his own future.
That's exactly it. He gets to choose um if he wants to stay or not, I think is what's happening there. So you're right. This game means nothing. It doesn't even matter for the first overall pick next year. Like that's going to Chicago. That's already locked. Patriots could get the second pick of the league. There's three teams tied at 4-12. Patriots, Cardinals, Commanders. Um, Jets are 6-10, so they're gonna get like the 10th pick. This game literally means nothing. It shouldn't be watched by anybody, even Patriots and Jets fans. If people are still in fantasy football world, then maybe you're looking at just like even then, it's just Brees Hall, maybe the Jets or Patriots defense, and maybe Garrett Wilson. Those are the only, but those storylines aren't even that big either. So it's literally like no reason to watch this game. It shouldn't be on anybody's television. Okay, so we have all the AFC playoff scenarios. Pittsburgh can still get in. Jacksonville can still get in. Indy, Houston, Buffalo can still get in. Let's go to the NFC. San Francisco, they've clinched. Uh, Detroit Lions have clinched. Dallas playoffs have clinched. Dallas Cowboys have clinched a playoff spot. Philadelphia Eagles have clinched a playoff spot. LA Rams have clinched a playoff spot. So there's only two spots left that can be out there. The
I think
winner
one
of the
spot.
South. So it'll
Right.
be Atlanta or Tampa or New
Yeah.
Orleans.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And then a wild card spot. So right now, Atlanta Falcons, if they win, they're in the playoffs. That's all they have to do. They just have to win. Who are they playing? They're playing the Saints in New Orleans. So
But the
Saints are
Saints have a
still
similar
fighting for their playoff
situation,
spot.
right?
Yeah. So they win, the Saints win, or make the playoffs if they win and Tampa Bay loses because Tampa Bay has the tiebreaker.
Tampa's got
They're
Carolina,
playing
right?
Carolina. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
have to assume Tampa Bay is going to win, right? I feel like that's a you have to assume that.
Yeah. Speaking of Tampa Bay, somebody was throwing this out there, and I kind of started giving it some thought, and I think it has some merit. Where do you put Baker Mayfield for comeback player of the year?
I think I put him behind Joe Flacco.
You put him behind Joe Flacco.
Yeah, Joe Flacco's story's better, but is Damar
It is,
Hamlin
but Joe
Damar
Flacco's
Hamlin
what,
still going to win?
four games?
I agree with you. I think
It's
Baker's up there, but is Damar Hamlin still the guy that's going to win that award? I've had this debate with
I
a few
still
people.
think it's possible. The more you look at it, no, from just the definition of the award is you have to come back and play well.
That's what I assume. And also,
Yeah.
Damar Hamlin's
There
played
is a
like
factor.
four
There is
or
a
five
factor.
games. He hasn't played the whole season.
There is a factor of coming back and playing better, not just playing, right?
Yeah, you have like
And I
there
don't
should be
think
a
Damar Hamlin has played better than previous.
no. He's not even getting the opportunity to do so.
No. So I think that's the part where it's kind of like, well, yes, you have a great story. It was heartwarming. It brought a lot of people together at the time. but just by the actual definition of the award, it doesn't seem like you quite make it. But I could also still see the NFL giving it to him because, and that's the shitty thing is like, do you
Exactly.
want a trophy where they're just giving it to you?
No. And this is a perfect opportunity. He's going to win it, and I don't think he should win it. I think it should go to Joe Flacco or Baker Mayfield instead. And I
My thing
think
with Joe
the
Flacco is how many games does he play? 4 or 5?
he's played 4 or 5, but he's stellar and he's taking that team to the playoffs.
He is. I
Like
agree.
without him, that team doesn't make the playoffs. Um, so here's the thing with getting back to DeMar Hamlin. The NFL wants to be able to put him on a stage with all the people that saved his life and like the people in the hospital, the people on the field. And I get that. That's a great PR thing. But why not stay true to the value of comeback player of the year and give it to somebody like Flacco or Baker Mayfield, Jonathan Taylor, I don't know, somebody else that kind of deserves it for the season they had, and then just start a new trophy called the DeMar Hamlin Perseverance through like something dramatic, and just give him a new award for perseverance throughout the season.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And then you get to do both. You get to stay true to the trophy and also kind of like say, hey, this thing happened and look how where we've come from it. That's what I think the easy solution is. I mean, we don't get to choose these things, but um, yeah, I would put Baker behind Joe Flacco for comeback player of the year. I would give it to Joe. I
You
would give it
also
to Joe.
hated him last week.
Well, yeah, because I don't like Joe Flacco, but he
Come on, you gotta
deserves the
love this
award.
story.
I
You gotta
don't love
love
the
this
story.
story.
Why?
Really? He's just like
Why?
a kind of washed up NFL player sitting on the couch. His kids thought like you just suck at football, right? Because he's losing games to the Jets. He's like, I was a Super Bowl champ, right? He's got to pull up highlights of himself just to show his kids that like, hey, I was a good player at one point. And now he comes back, he gets a shot, he comes back, killing it.
Yeah.
Taken
Well,
out, making a $230 million guy, or what, $300 million guy? What was how much is Deshaun Watson getting?
300 million, 285, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Making him look like a bum. And this is just some old washed up
He is a
quarterback
bum.
off the couch.
He is a bum though. Deshaun Watson is a bum. But you're right. The story's great, and
Uh,
that's why he deserves comeback player of the year.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The story's great. The story is very good, especially if he wins a playoff game. That's incredible. Um, okay, let's go back into NFC. Tampa Bay, all they have to do is beat Carolina, and they've clinched a playoff spot. Atlanta, if they win, they need Tampa Bay to lose. New Orleans needs to win. They're playing head to head, so if the Falcons Saints game
That's gonna be a tough, yeah,
means
that's gonna be a
everything.
game.
Means everything unless
I haven't seen the Falcons have a convincing game at any point this season.
I agree.
I'm shocked at the number of wins they have
I agree.
because I feel like they don't have anything going on. The running back disappeared off the face of the earth. The quarterback is unreliable. What do they have going on over there?
Nothing. It's
They
chaos
got
over
a good
there.
defense? I don't know anything about their defense.
Defense isn't too bad, but they're starting to use their players like Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They're starting to use them more efficiently. Um, but there's nothing in Atlanta to get excited about, even if they were in the playoffs. But also, they have to win, and they need Tampa Bay to lose. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
which
their easiest
that's a
way
tough
in.
ask,
It's a
seeing
tough
that
ask.
Tampa
Tampa
Bay,
Bay versus Carolina.
yeah,
So
Tampa Bay more or less holds their own future in their hand, right?
exactly. And New
Yeah.
Orleans playing Atlanta, they have to win, and they also need Tampa Bay. Or so New Orleans still has a way in if they beat Atlanta still, they can get in if Seattle loses and Green Bay loses. So
Okay.
they're not
Remind
completely
me who
reliant.
Seattle's playing?
Seattle is playing, I think it's a divisional opponent,
Cardinals?
Cardinals,
It's the
yes,
Cardinals, yeah.
in Arizona.
Yeah.
So Seattle also needs to they need to win. The Seattle Seahawks get into playoffs with a win and a Green Bay loss. So there's a lot on the line for Seattle fans with this Green Bay game. So you're if you are a Seattle Seahawks fan, you are a Chicago Bears fan this weekend. That's like it
Absolutely.
was last year with if you were a Detroit Lions fan, you were an LA Rams fan because we needed you guys to beat Seattle. And you didn't the Rams didn't. So that's why the Lions were eliminated. So if you again, if you're a Seahawks fan, it comes down to beating the Packers. Like the just like it was, we needed you guys to lose last year, the Lions. Okay. But Seattle win, Green Bay loss, you're in the playoffs. Green Bay Packers just need to win and they're in. There's still a way for them to get in. If they lose, Minnesota loses, Seattle loses, and Tampa Bay or New Orleans also lose. So they, but again, if you're Green Bay, just win, you're in. Minnesota Vikings can still get in. They are playing the Lions. Lions might not play all their players. Don't know. Um, but the Vikings will win or get in the playoffs if they win. Green Bay loses, Seattle loses, and Tampa Bay or New Orleans lose. So they need a lot of help. But first, they got to think about winning that Detroit game. I think that's all the scenarios of people getting in. Like all the teams we mentioned now are the only ones that can still get in. Um, and let's go to our picks then this week. Did you pick any of these teams?
Well,
Hey, you did.
yeah, I took the Bucks over the Chargers.
Okay, so Bucks over the Panthers. I mean,
Sorry,
so that
getting ahead of
that'll
myself. Yeah.
yeah, so
Um,
that'll put them in.
Bucks over the Panthers for the first one, just since the Panthers are trash and the Bucks are fight. This is their season. Win and you win your division. You're
Win your
handed your division, your trash division, given to you
win
on a
and you're in.
platter. Just you got to do beat the worst team in the league. Chiefs over the Chargers, just because as much as the Chiefs are looking like they're getting worse every week, the Chargers have been bad every week.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I took the
Chargers are
Lions
bad.
over the Vikings just because the Vikings, I don't think they have enough to play for. And I think the Lions still have that hope and that kind of just make up for last week's, what's the word for it? I don't want to say disgrace or debacle or
Debacle, yeah.
robbery.
Robbery is a good one. Robbery is a good one.
Yeah.
I do think that the Vikings will want to come out and win that game, and they have someone to play for. I just don't know if they have the quarterback that's going to be able to get it done. I don't think Nick Mullins is the answer. Josh Dobbs, they seem to not want to go back to. It just seems like it's kind of a mess in Minnesota, and it's probably best for everybody that their season just
Yeah.
ends.
Well, after they
Sorry,
got kind of
Reed.
spanked, they got spanked by Green
Yeah,
Bay last week. I think they're a little dejected, that team is.
yeah. Okay, I got the Ravens over the Steelers. I think Tyler Huntley wins that game for them and puts the Pittsburgh Steelers out of their misery. Pittsburgh's favorites, though, 3.5 points. It's in Baltimore. I got the Packers over the Bears. I don't know. I just think that Jordan Love is going to get it done in Chicago, or it's in Green Bay, sorry. It would be nice, though, for Packers back-to-back seasons to lose their last game of the playoffs in Green Bay to an NFC North team and miss the playoffs. I would love that. I just don't see it happening, but I would love that to happen. So I want to put that out there in the universe. And then I got the
So
Bills favored 3 over the Dolphins. I think they boat race them. I think it's over. I think the Bills end it within the first half.
now I was going to, because the score line for the running picks total is 28 for out of 49 for you, 31 out of 49 for me.
Yeah,
So
is
I
that
have that
including the
three
new?
ahead.
Is that including the new ones? The last week's?
Yeah. Yes. Because we both went 3 for 3 last week.
All right, look at us. Look at us.
So I was thinking of just the Chiefs over the Chargers and the Lions over the Vikings. Those tough picks. I was going to just leave it at the Bucks over the Panthers, needing just one to solidify no tie and me winning. But I thought that's too cocky of an insulting move, so I didn't do it. But because
Yeah,
now
I
the
mean,
best you can hope for is a tie.
yeah, I don't think like, I've also got like the got some underdogs here or some close games. So I don't know, but if you think of the teams that are left fighting for playoff spots, so knowing in the NFC, San Fran, Detroit, Dallas, Philly, LA are all in, you think Tampa Bay is going to win to get in. So the Packers get that last spot, or does New Orleans get that last spot? Or
No, I think the Packers take it.
yeah, I think the Packers take it too.
Well, no, wait. Is Seattle's future is not in their own hands, is it?
It is. They have to win, and Green Bay needs to lose, though.
Right, yeah. So it's not in their own hands. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Green Bay takes it 'cause I think Green Bay wins.
Okay. Then yeah, I mean, I also think Green Bay gets in there.
Yeah,
So there's nothing I can do. And I also think Tampa Bay beats Carolina and they get in. In the
yeah.
AFC, Baltimore's in, Kansas City's in, Cleveland's in, Miami's in. Houston versus Indy, easiest way to go with the next person. Who do you think wins that game?
I think Houston pulls out the win,
I agree. It's in
but
Indianapolis. Um, but man, CJ Stroud is so good. Gardner Minshew's playing well, but CJ Stroud's gonna like is going to start. This is going to be the beginning of a very good career for him, and this will be like he's already played good this year. Don't get me wrong, but this is going to be that first stamp of He came in, he won the big game, got them into the playoffs, and then he can kind of soar from there. Um,
Yeah, if he
Jacksonville,
can take them from like a 3 or 4 win team to playoffs,
yeah,
that's huge.
huge. That's huge. Then the other team that it could be Jacksonville, it could be Pittsburgh. Um, who do you got? Jacksonville just
So
needs to win.
remind me, who does Jacksonville play?
They're playing the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee.
I've lost a little bit of faith in Jacksonville.
I've lost some faith in Jacksonville as well. I don't
Yeah,
know if I've
they can
lost
win
that
this
much faith
game.
though.
Assuming Jacksonville wins, they win their division, right?
Yeah,
So let's say Jacksonville wins and Houston wins. Where does that leave us?
that puts those are the last two teams in,
Right.
and then the Bills if they beat Miami,
The
which I think
Bills
they will.
win.
Yeah, the Bills win, so they get in. So then it comes
The
down
Bills
to
rest nobody. The Bills are out crushing them.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now so here's the other thing though, like Jacksonville doesn't need to win. If I'm right and the Ravens beat the Steelers, Jacksonville's in.
When is the game though? When
As
is the
long as
game though? When is the game? Is it played
it's the
before?
first game. It's the Ravens Steelers is the first game, Saturday at 1:30.
Okay. So yeah, that could completely change everything for
Yeah. I mean, Jacksonville
but
still
they
want to go
probably
in and
but they
win
probably
and win the
want that
division.
home game.
100%. So
Yeah.
it's
So
just
I think they
like,
still go out and play.
yeah, they'll get out there and play, but they're still gonna like I think that's the other team. I'm just saying that I think Jacksonville gets in the playoffs. I think Texans get in, I think Bills get in, I think Jacksonville gets in the AFC.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on before
No, I
we
think
finish
this
before
episode,
week 18?
excuse the pun, but it was a little bit all over the map, and maybe that was my fault, but
What do you mean all over the map? Are you trying to make a pun?
I just got jumped. No, no, well, I'm all over the map here, really. Um, but no, I just kind of
The good news is that you got through this whole episode pretty much without breaking down. And then as you tried to describe why we're all over the map, I couldn't hear a word of what you said. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put us all over our misery. Puya, thank you. I hope you have a good rest of your trip. We will be talking to you next week. Of course, after week 18, we start talking about playoffs. Have fun in the Amazon with those pink dolphins. Everybody else, thanks for listening. We will be back next week. Running Down the Clock is brought to you by the Ordinary Podcast Network and is every Thursday running until the week after the Super Bowl. We hope you enjoyed enough to subscribe and tune in again next week.